Since you're closest, you get the prize. You get to go first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and what was it that motivated you to get involved in a leadership program like this?
Well, I received the award for starting a small English as a second language organization. And in this organization, we help people who don't speak English fluently, and we teach them the basics of the language. We have 4 tutors that volunteer to teach we have 12 to 15 students now. And we teach them the basics of the language and help them how to teach them how to converse with their doctors, or if you need any help with maintenance or just a store clerk.
I noticed on some of your background that your family moved here to Egypt. You've always spoken English, so you haven't always had to, as a second language, but I assume you probably speak Egypt as well?
Yeah, I grew up speaking English and Arabic, and when I first went to Egypt, I had to learn how to speak Arabic more fluently, and it was a little bit of a struggle for me, and I realized that I do not want people in my community or my friends or my family or anyone to have to go through these kind of problems. So that's why we have the organization, to help them.
One of the things that I am always struck by when we take a look at the county here in Delaware County is the unbelievable diversity that is shown across the county. Not too many people realize it, but just next door, not far away from Marple Newtown School District, is the Upper Darby School District. You probably thought, kids, that you weren't going to have to do this, but I'm going to tell you that you were wrong, because you're going to get a quiz tonight. Can anybody tell me within 5 how many dialects you think are spoken in the Upper Darby School District? Iman, since you have a little more background in this, we'll start with you. Take a guess. How many do you think?
I think between 5 to 10.
Okay. Megan, you're up. You want to try?
13.
Taylor?
I'm going to go with 10.
Dave?
I'll go with 12.
Well, I'll tell you, if you were going with the over-under vote, you probably should have gone with the over. When I learned this a couple of years ago, I was staggered. And did you realize that there are over 70 languages spoken in the Upper Darby School District? So we can see how big a need across the county, the whole idea. They have a huge program there in terms of English as a second language, and just some of the barriers that have to be broken down. Megan, tell us what motivated you to get involved in the program?
Well, I volunteer at the Kinney Center at St. Joe's University in a social skills program that works with autistic kids. And in the program, it's entirely run by college students, and there's high school volunteers, and we help the kids work on skills like just raising their hand in class to ask a question, or calling a friend on their phone, just little things that add up to big progress. I've always been interested in working with kids with disabilities. I have relatives with autism, and so I've always been very interested in special education, and when I heard about this, I just thought it was perfect.
Now, the ages of these kids are kids that are younger than you are, for the most part?
Yes, they're about 11 to 14.
What kind of challenges do you think that they face on a day in and day out basis?
I do think school must be very challenging for them, but I know from the kids that I have gotten to know very personally that they try so hard every day to make progress and to just live their lives normally. And they're just very strong in their continued process.
Taylor Forza, something leaped out at me when I looked at your background. First, you had to tell me, where and what is Woodland School? I'm not familiar with that. Where is that?
Woodland is in Stratford, and it's for kids with learning disabilities. And I'm dyslexic. I'm severely dyslexic, and I'm dyscalculus. So that school specializes for kids that learn differently.
You commute back and forth each day?
Yes, I do.
What was it that motivated you to get involved in this type of a leadership program?
Well, I started a club at school called Stage 3, and it's for stroke victims. And I'm actually planning a whole charity walk that's going to be taking place in May. And I just really wanted to show people that people do care about stroke victims and they're not overlooked, and I just wanted to make it aware. My father had a stroke when I was a freshman in high school, so about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So just starting this walk, I just really wanted to show my appreciation for it.
It's really a really good issue, good stuff. Dave, I notice are looking at some of the social issues that are involved at school, and you found yourself involved in a group called Peer Facilitators Club. Tell us a little bit about what that club does.
Yes, the Peers Facilitators, they're basically guidance counselors within the student body, and within the student body there are a lot of kids that are very, they have a hard time speaking up for themselves and talking to adults. So we are there basically as a support system to talk to them about issues, anything that they're going through, and we really just try and support them and give them ways to cope with a lot of the problems that they might have in their life.
One of the things that we've spent an awful lot of time at the Daily Times covering, obviously an issue that's getting bigger all the time, is the whole idea of bullying. Not only physical bullying, but now the new wave of social media and online harassment and bullying. Do you see any kind of instances of that?
Actually, we do see, we have seen quite a bit of instances of this happening. It was basically one of our main priorities this year is to really get the word out and try and get people to stop this horrible act, actually. And over the summer we have a lot of meetings, and we do compose videos just to spread spread awareness throughout our school, just to tell you if you see any of it online or anything like that, just to stand up for someone, because they can't really stand up for themselves. Yeah,
another great issue. A reminder to our readers, it's an online program. You can log on to delcotimes.com, take part in a live chat. We've been asking some of our readers for questions during the day, because as I said, this is something that we get hit with all the time. The idea of the image that is projected of young people in the county. One of the things that I get accused of all the time, and with some justification, is that the image of young people that appears very often in the news is skewed very often to negative images. Now, you live and are growing up in a world completely different than the world that your parents and I grew up in, although I'm light years older than most of your parents, I would imagine. But Iman, I'll come back to you and talk to you a little bit about this. With all the pressures that are out there of social media and this whole idea of image, what do kids in school say, hey, you're in this leadership program, what motivated you to do that? Do kids, are they interested in that?
Well, with my particular program, it is languages, and I find people to be very interested in languages. So people do ask, oh, you got an award, why did you win it? So they do.
And what was the reaction in school?
Well, I go to Marple Newtown, and everyone in that school is very supportive of each other. It's a very accepting, open-minded school, and they were just happy. It was.
Megan, what do you see as the reaction among your peers?
Well, I actually got a bunch of girls from my school. In my psychology class, I kind of announced it, and I invited anyone else who wanted to apply with me for the program to apply as well. And I had been talking to my guidance counselor about it, and that's why he nominated me for the award. And people are very interested in the award. They think it's really cool that I'm in such an exclusive group of students.
Taylor, what was the reaction at Woodland School? How many kids are in Woodland School?
Well, it goes through K through 12, and there's about 20 kids in each grade. So in a class, my class has about 30. We're one of the biggest classes, and in a classroom setting, there's about 5 to 7 students in a classroom.
Wow, so, that's great.
Yeah, so it's small. So they were all very excited. We're all like brothers and sisters there. So they were all so supportive, and there's always going to be those kids that aren't too they don't really care, but they were all really supportive. I was really shocked, and they were all like, how do I do it? So they were really excited.
Dave, what was the reaction at Springfield High?
A lot of my friends were very supportive. They were very excited for me. I'm in the marching band, and a lot of people came up to me telling me that they were very happy to hear that I got accepted into such an exclusive group.
John, come back to you now. what happens now in terms of, is there anything specifically? Is there an award ceremony? Is there some type of a program in conjunction with Widener that they now perform any kind of a duty that ties
Sure.
in?
There's an acceptance dinner where they're all honored. But if any of these students decide to come to Widener, then there's a scholarship attached to the award.
Nothing wrong with that.
So it adds up to $20,000 over the 4 years, so it's fairly substantial.
That's great.
And once they're on campus, they become Apogee scholars. So they're no longer high school winners, they're Apogee college students.
Yeah.
And we have 9 of them here now that were awarded last year.
We noted that there's 134 winners selected. That would be out of a pool of how many? How many nominations does the program receive?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that.
Thousands.
A lot.
Let's talk a little bit. In particular, I'd be interested in the reaction of the young people and this whole idea of image. And when it comes to young people, what do you think of the image that we see so often portrayed in media, images like Miley Cyrus and things like that? And do you think it's a true perspective on kids your age, or it's just something that adults do that they just don't get it? People who are older than dirt, like me.
Well, I think that it's not a fair image. I think a lot of students in our age group do a lot of things that are good for the community and not always recognized for it. So I don't think it's a fair portrayal, like, oh, all students do this, all high school kids do this. So.
Megan, what do you think? Do kids get a fair shake, or are we painting a terrible picture of them?
I agree. I think it is unfair that kids are portrayed as so mindless and uncaring about our communities and everything, because I mean, at the school that I go to and being in this program now, I can see how motivated young people are and how involved we are in our communities and how much we really do care about the issues we face.
Yeah, that's very good. Taylor, what do you think?
I think that it isn't a good image how, Miley Cyrus or some of the celebrities portray themselves, but I do think everybody has a right to express themselves, so that's how she chooses to live. But I do think that that's not how all teenagers act, and I think that it is a picture that is painted wrong. I think that there are a ton of good, obviously there's a ton of good students out there that are just trying to do better, be better.
All right, Dave, you get to take up the mantle for young people now.
Yeah, I agree that we don't have the best image at all. I think that there are a lot of very hardworking individuals in high school and a very large number of hardworking teenagers, and I feel that people work very hard for where they're at in their life now, and that the select few of people represent the younger generations. They don't represent us very well.